All right, feel free to turn your cameras on, keep them off, whatever you are most comfortable with. That is totally fine. I know Zoom fatigue is real, so whatever works for me. But thank you all so much for joining our alumni webinar tonight. Tonight's webinar is our Design Science Alumni webinar. I am Alicia Markey. I'm the recruiter for our Design Science program. I will be introducing, or well, they're going to be introducing themselves, our alum in just a second here, but I want to give you an agenda overview of what's going to be covered. We have our alumni overview, design science overview is probably going to be in there, and then we'll open it up for a question and answer. So you can unmute and ask any questions that you have specifically about the design science program, the university, favorite classes, anything you kind of want to know. And then we'll head into the application deadlines because those are coming up for design science, and then application kind of materials too, and then contact information. So if you have any questions after this webinar, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to answer those. So now I will turn it over to our alum.
Hi everyone, my name is Jamie and I graduated from design science this past May. I did my undergrad also at Michigan, so I was in Ann Arbor from 2019 until 2024. I did mechanical engineering for my undergrad and then went right into the design science program after taking a class through design science my senior year of undergrad and just finding that what I learned in that class is what I really wanted to be learning in my undergrad, and it wasn't quite what I expected, and I felt like I was able to learn a lot of what I wanted through the graduate program. So I'll get into sort of what attracted me to it and what I did with the program. So I did my background in mechanical engineering and was always interested in being a maker of sorts and creating things. I wasn't always sure what I wanted those things to be, but liked to, I was interested in making things for people. And I felt like a lot of what I learned in undergrad, for me specifically in mechanical engineering, I will say that a lot of people in the program have different backgrounds from like engineering to architecture or art or psychology. But for me, I wanted to do more product design where I was considering how what we create integrates into the world. In mechanical engineering, it's a lot of math and figuring out how to make things. And I got the how down, but in the design science, it's a lot more of the why and for who and when and what to consider. So the the basis of the program, I think it's changed a little bit since I was there, but the main courses that I took that I had big takeaways from were the analytical product design course, where you go through the design cycle of considering a problem that you want to focus on and then creating a physical product to solve that problem. And that gave a really good overview from the basis until the final conceptualization and production of the product. And then after that, in the next semester, the design process methods class was also really beneficial, which talks about more narrowing in on the ideation period of design and focusing on different ways to come up with different ideas and concepts or solutions for problems. But a lot of the program is focusing on different problems, and those problems are human problems and the way that we live and how we interact with each other, and that can be spanning from our urban environment or our more artificial environment in terms of physical spaces or creating. I mean, it's a pretty broad program. Like the products that you can create or focus on, it can be anything of your own niche. I'll talk a little bit about the pictures here. So that's me in the middle, and bottom right is concrete canoe. That was just a program I did in undergrad where we build a canoe out of concrete. Um, and that, yeah, it was fun. The other the other pictures on the left here and on the top right are from the Ann Arbor Hands-On Museum. Through design science, you'll do a capstone project where you get to do a project focusing on whatever you want, and it can be on your own or partnering with an Ann Arbor organization or through a university research team or anything. And I just walked over to this museum, which is in Ann Arbor, and said, I really like what you're doing, and I have to do this project for my master's program. Can I come and can I do a project for you guys? And they said, yeah, it sounds great. So I went there a couple times a week and I created a prototype on the left for a modular roller coaster to teach people about physics and inertia and energy. So I'm really interested in creating projects or products that make people feel inspired and feel excited and happy. The bottom left corner is what I'm doing now. I work for a company called Tate, which creates flooring, windows, and walls for buildings. It's a lot of thermal infrastructure. And I feel like a lot in design science taught me how to consider the human elements of the people living in the spaces for what I'm designing now. So, yeah, I know that was a bunch of different things. But yeah, if you have any questions or anything you want me to elaborate on, I'm happy to do so.
Thank you so much, Jamie. I wondered what those photos were, so thank you for explaining. I knew concrete canoe, but the rest con was not sure of. So thank you so much for explaining.
Yeah, no
So
problem.
this is the perfect time. So if you have any questions that you specifically want to know more about design science itself, how it's structured, the university, um, anything that you want to know, like I said, please feel free to unmute and ask your questions or use the chat function as well. Whatever you're most comfortable is totally fine. Um, while we're waiting for questions too, I have some as well. So the one question that I will kind of start with, if that's okay, is Jamie, why did you choose design science specifically? Because I know you said you were already like at U of M, so there's a bunch of different programs that you kind of could have gone into from mechanical engineering, but why did you choose design science specifically?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I had applied to some jobs and had ideas of things I was interested in doing, but I didn't quite feel like I had all of the tools to go and be an engineer. Not that I couldn't do a job and be qualified for my degree and what I learned in undergrad, but on my own, I didn't feel like I quite had all the skills to go from from ideation to conceptualization for products. And some people are more interested in creating programs or concepts that aren't quite a physical product. But for me in particular, I felt like I knew a lot with CAD and with different math classes and different mechanical classes about how properties worked. And for example, like now I use a lot of the thermodynamics I learned from my thermo class, but this program gave me a really good idea and background on how to do concept generation and how to come up with ideas and what to consider. So right now, the company that I work at is in a period where things are changing and we're coming up with some new products, and I feel like I learned a lot of methods as to not just how to brainstorm and think of ideas off the top of your head, but how to be resourceful and efficient in pulling from different information when coming up with ideas. And then also in production, how to effectively prototype and how to consider the right the right people that you want to be pleasing with your product. I feel like product design is one of those things that there's so much to consider. And you'll definitely learn that there's even more to consider than you realize, but has given me a much better idea of where to spend my time and energy and what to prioritize in the design process.
Makes sense. We have a question that came through the chat. So this is from one of our attendees. They say that I'm a digital product designer and I'd like to know if this would be a good program for me because I've never built a physical product.
Yeah, so you're not forced to make any physical products. I think the only one you technically have to do would be for the analytical product design class, but you're on a team. So there will likely be someone with an engineering background who can do CAD, for example. But I guess it's more, it would depend on like what your interests are. It's the program focuses a lot on like the who, what, where, why, when, less so of the artistic creativity and a lot more critical thinking and what to consider in terms of making design decisions. And not, yeah, not to be confused with creative design because it's not really focused on the arts. Although I will say I felt like I wanted to consider art more in my work and not just art as in paintings, but as in creating products that people live with or interact with on a daily basis because unless what you're creating is just going in a closet or maybe it's wiring behind a wall. A lot of the like what I was interested in creating was things that people would be interacting with. So yeah, if you're interested in that, then I think it's a great program.
And the curriculum
I
itself
wasn't paid
is
to be here, by the way. Just giving my
no, no,
honest opinion.
I didn't pay him anything, I swear. The program itself is very motivated on your specific like career goals and outcomes. So the curriculum is can be annoying to some students because it's very choose your own adventure and where you pick and choose your courses to fit what you want to get out of it and what you want to learn. So there isn't kind of a like one size fits all for students. So some students have come in and asked for, oh, just show me like what other students have done and I'll follow that path. That doesn't really work in our design science program because it's so unique to each student. So you have to create your own path and courses that you want to take to fit what you're looking for the course itself.
Yeah, that's definitely a great point. You take more classes that you choose from a very long list of what the university offers than what's required. For when I was in the program, the required classes were the analytical product design and the design process methods, which for me were the classes that I got the most out of. I definitely got a lot out of my other classes too. I focused on taking some systems engineering classes to handle like larger engineering projects and the process of them. But yeah, so there's some buckets in terms of what else you need to dip into, but it's very open-ended and I don't think anybody felt restricted based on the requirements.
Yep. I put this link in the chat for everyone to look at as well. We have another question that came in. The program seems highly collaborative. Does this apply across most classes? Is the department highly encouraging for students to engage in collaborative project research across departments?
Yes, definitely. There is a once a week class that you have just with everyone in the program, and you discuss something different every week. There's no homework or assignments except for maybe a reading to that. I mean, that's not long to get you prepared on what you're going to talk about. But that class in particular just gives you the chance to be with all the other students and focus on what you want to do. So there'll be like different speakers and different activities and different like not projects. I was a lot of activities, but not in like a light way. Activities as in like ways to spend your class time improving on yourself, like in a guided way. But anyway, yeah, there's a lot of collaboration. You can take classes outside of the requirements that aren't collaborative, but the core classes you'll be working with teams for sure. And yeah, a lot of people get involved in research and external projects. Like I mentioned, Concrete Canoe. I did that in undergrad, but there's a lot of other, like the university is very large. So there's any kind of project that you want to be a part of, it probably exists and you can do it.
Another question came through. I am currently working as an engineer specifically in design, and I want to continue developing my career in engineering design. Furthermore, I would like to know more about the post-grad job opportunities after completing the master's.
So I will say in terms of career resources, I felt like there was less there in terms of what was covered. Most of the program is focused on the material and the coursework of what the class itself is focused on. Um, but there is also the engineering career center that you have access to. I definitely was able to connect with and meet with a lot of people. Um, so I would say the university networking is a big pro, but outside of that, you're not really spending class time on anything related to post-grad opportunities specifically. But then there's also like the capstone, which could turn into something.
We have two large career fairs on campus as well. So we have one in the fall and one in the winter that bring in over 300 companies to campus that are just looking for our University of Michigan College of Engineering students, which you all fall in that bucket because the degree is housed in the College of Engineering, even though it's not an engineering specific degree. And as Jamie said, you have access to the Engineering Career Resource Center. So as long as our students are utilizing these resources, our students have had success in the career goals. This is from the ECRC, which is the acronym for the Engineering Career Resource Center. This is compiled for in design science specifically. So this is sample hiring companies, the top industries we've seen our students go into, and then job titles and salary data. This is all self-reported data from our alums. So not everything, but just from what we've heard from our alumni as well. The Engineering Career Resource Center helps with resume review, mock interviews, even salary negotiation appointments. And then you also have access to their job board. So that has internship, full time, and co op opportunities that are posted daily and hourly as well. So, in our last webinar last week, we had Holden, one of our alums from Design Science, talk about jobs as well. And the one thing to point out is you're not going to see the job title of like design science engineer or design science as like the title of a job. It's how you can pitch this degree to fit the role and the career path that you want is really key for your like outcome of this degree.
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing for me in terms of jobs was that during interviews, I was able to apply what I learned in the program, and I felt like that was able to set me apart as opposed to just saying I am a qualified engineer. So I'm a qualified engineer, plus I have all these extra things that I'm going to bring.
Right. Okay, another question we had here. What is the admissions rate for this course? Jamie, I'll pull that up. Don't worry about that one.
Yeah, when I'm not sure.
Yeah, don't worry about that. I'll pull it up. We have it from US News. We have that only for US News though for all of our kind of degree programs, so we're under it. So I don't have it specifically for design science though. Da, da, da. Let me see. Give me 1 second here. The acceptance rate is 73%. And this was for when we had our rankings under the ISD, Integrative Systems and Design umbrella. So it was with all 6 of our degree programs under it, design science being one of them. So we don't have it broken out for just design science specifically. Good question. And I'll link here for everyone as well, the link to that career sheet from the Engineering Career Resource Center as well. If anyone wants to see that. All right. Are there any other questions we have? Otherwise, I have some still. Okay. While we're waiting for some more questions, Jamie, do you have a favorite class that you took?
Yeah, so I mentioned the analytical product design and the design process methods, but another one that I took was design theories with Julia Kramer, and that class went more less into the here's different techniques you can use for design, but more so as why do we think about things the way we do? It was more of like a psychological class, but that class was also very research focused, where every week we would read different research papers. So I learned a lot about like the history of design and how it's become like what we've learned and where we are now. And that, yeah, that class also just was very conversational and discussing different theories and ideas behind what how we come up with ideas and what we consider. We also touched on design justice in that class, or I not touched on. We spent like multiple weeks and read a lot of papers on design justice, focusing on different communities and how you can effectively be a good designer for everyone in an equitable way, and how you can equitably factor people into your design because you want to be considering how people like what people think with designs that are going to be impacting them, but you also want to do that in a way that is respectful, which is not always easy. So yeah, I would say that class, which was design, I think it's design theories with Julia Kramer.
Wait, another question. When does admissions registration open? So this is a great question. So I'm going to share my screen again just to show you all the deadlines to apply. So for the design science degree program, this degree is only available on campus and only admits in the fall semester. So right now we are coming up to our final application deadline for design science, and that is March 15th. So this is the final deadline to apply for the fall 2025 semester for design science. So that's coming up here almost a little less than a month away. I know, cannot believe it's coming that fast. But you should still have enough time to get your application materials ready. And those materials are listed here. So there is an application fee associated with applying. 75 for domestic students and 90 for international. The minimum GPA is a 3.0. The average is a 3.5. We need 3 letters of recommendation. The GRE is not required, but we do recommend taking it. You'll need the resume and curriculum vitae, academic statement of purpose, and personal statement, the written parts of that, and your official transcripts and the English proficiency. And again, the GRE, like I said, we recommend taking it if you're at that minimum threshold. Otherwise, you don't have to worry about it. So those are the application parts for the design science part. I have another question for you, Jamie. Um, how do you think the degree has impacted your career?
That's a good question. Um, I will say when I go into a project, anything with product development, it's helped me have a more strategic focus on considering stakeholders and considering the validation methods and what I want to be quantifying and qualifying throughout the project. So I would say, yeah, just for product development, it's helped me have a better idea of what I'm doing, especially because at the company where I'm at, there's not a lot of training. We were kind of just thrown in, and I felt like I was more prepared to be successful at, yeah, product development. Um, I also do a lot of CAD and creating engineering drawings, which I think was more for my undergrad helped more with that. But yeah, coming up with concepts for products.
Awesome. Another question came in. What was your social life like?
Okay, this is a great question. I love Ann Arbor, and I stayed. Another reason why I stayed was because like I only applied to this program since it was a good it was I wasn't originally planning on staying and doing a master's right after, but I took that class and I was like, this is what I want to be learning. But on top of that, I don't think I would have wanted to stay in Ann Arbor if I didn't also really like Ann Arbor. Um, people are really nice. I don't know if like you guys are from Michigan, but I am from Michigan. I live out of state now, but I think Michigan people are cool. And Ann Arbor just has like a great mix of a lot of different things that you can do and be a part of. It's very walkable. I didn't have a car in Ann Arbor, which I loved. I do have a car now, which I I don't like, but it's nice how you can get places easily and there's just like always things to do. And yeah, I th people say like that Michigan has a work hard, play hard culture, which you don't have to participate in, but I feel like I really like the energy of working hard and doing everything that you need to accomplish for class and then closing your laptop and instantly going and doing something fun. Especially on Saturdays, the football games are awesome. Yeah, I actually am um I'm going home to see family in a few weeks, and while I'm home, I'm gonna go to Ann Arbor for a Michigan basketball game. So yeah, Ann Arbor's great.
I love it. That question was asked for your social life and my social life. I didn't go to school at Ann Arbor, so I can't say I live in Ann Arbor now and I love it. So that's what made me come to work for you is just wanting to be a part of it. So I went to a small private liberal arts school, and so I missed out on this big experience at a big university. So hence why I have to work here now and get you all to come here and experience it because I didn't get to. So do what I didn't get to do.
And I felt like the people in this program were great too. I spent a lot of time with and became good friends with my classmates in design science.
Design science, I will say, has one of the tightest knit cohorts because all of them come in the fall. And I say this because I used to host a lot of your events, like student events for design for all of our students actually in the different programs. So design science, because you all start in the fall, would I felt really get to know each other really well. So you always seem like such a tight knit group.
And there's that class I mean, it was on Fridays when I was there, where you all come together and just talk about things that you're interested in. And it's guided in a way, but there's a lot of freedom to it. And it's really just a chance to be able to be passionate about whatever you are and not in the form of doing work and turning it in. So I think through the classes you get to know people well.
Another question I have for you, Jamie. Sorry, I have a lot.
No, no worries.
Hopefully, these are helping all of you in the webinar as well. What advice would you give a new student starting this program?
That is a good question. I would say to try to not put too much pressure on any individual thing because what is good about both the program and being in Ann Arbor is there's so much going on and there's so much that you can be a part of that I would try to just dip your toes into a lot of things and then by the second semester you'll have a better idea of like what you're you like being involved in and what kind of things that you want to focus on academically, or maybe you probably have a good idea already. But I would say just to try new things and don't worry if you fail at them because there's so much that you can do both with your classes and research projects and clubs. And I say clubs like professional kind of things that are projects as well. There's like hundreds, maybe there might even be thousands of different clubs. So it's worth trying things out and figuring out by failing a little bit.
Do you think that you would recommend this program to others?
Yeah, I would.
I know. I always feel funny asking that, but you can be honest. You can say no. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Especially from having an engineering background, having such a technical background, I felt like I was more prepared to be an engineer in the world. And if in a perfect world, I think that engineering and probably a lot of other STEM focused programs should be factoring in and considering how we design for the world and for people and for communities more. And maybe there should be less requirements that are just circle your answer kind of math classes. But given that I don't control how the engineering education works, especially like when it's like a US national accredited thing, I felt like this program gave me a lot of the information that I wanted in learning to be an engineer in in general.
Okay. Any other questions for Jamie? I want to share again my contact information. If you have any questions about the degree program, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. If you have any questions that come up for Jamie, please email me and then I will reach out to Jamie. We don't want to bog him down with anything, but I will see if they'll be willing to answer any questions. Can't promise you, but I'll reach out. But otherwise, I'll try to answer them myself. All right. And again, I just want to thank you all so much for joining us tonight for our alumni webinar. A huge, huge thank you to our alum, Jamie, for joining us and answering all these questions and just sharing their experiences through the degree program. And as always, go blue.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all.